It's a new day.
Kay, good morning. Congratulations on the new day.
Thank you very, very much. I want to get straight to these poll numbers that we released just this morning. New poll numbers out saying many things, but a couple important points. The president's approval rating has slipped by 8 points in just 1 month. But here's a really interesting point that got my attention. This poll also asked, do you trust and is the president trustworthy and is he honest? People's belief in that has dropped 9 points. Are you surprised that the president's trustworthy rating has taken a hit?
Well, I mean, certainly I would think it's troubling for the president and the fact that half the American people now don't think that the president is trustworthy and honest. And what they're witnessing is a Washington and a government that has abused its power. And frankly has lost focus on the issue that most Americans care about, which is getting people back to work. Yeah. And that's why we as House Republicans are very focused on trying to restore the faith in our government and the trust that people should have in that government, as well as their faith in the economy.
Congressman, how do you separate, when you talk about all of these scandals coming out of Washington, how do you separate, or how do you try to separate Congress and the Republican House from these scandals as well? How do you separate yourself from this trust deficit that we're saying the president has?
Well, clearly, Congress's role is oversight, and we are engaged in a very rigorous oversight of many of these agencies that have committed this violation of trust of the American people. As in the IRS issues in particular, I think, raise big concerns. We've got both Chairman Camp on the Ways and Means Committee as well as Chairman Ice on the Oversight Committee and their committee members very hard at work interviewing the necessary people, reviewing the documents to understand exactly what was going on. As you know, there was news out this morning which indicated that the kind of targeting of conservative groups was not just taking place or was not just made aware in people in Cincinnati. It actually was communicated back to Washington, which again I think underscores the importance of these oversight hearings and investigations. We've got to get to the bottom of this. The facts will lead us to the truth, and hopefully all of that will restore people's faith in government. Right now we've got a lot of work to do, as this administration, I think, has abused its power and violated the trust of the people.
Let me ask you about the NSA leaks real quick before we move on. A lot of questions are who knew what when as we look forward, and there's some talk now from some of your colleagues about declassifying some of this information to show to the American people. What did you know about the program before it leaked?
Well, these were programs that were put into law after 9/11. As we knew and saw that day, Americans in the world, the free, loving world, began to have to think the unthinkable. These programs have assisted lawmakers in going after terrorists. But again, I think it's important that the American people can see that we put a priority on national security, but equally a priority on the protection of civil liberties. That's what makes America who we are. And I think that the discussion that will unfold through our committee process, the oversight hearings, are going to be able to demonstrate that these programs hopefully will be proven to strike that balance that's so necessary in our country.
And Congressman, you're talking about priorities, and that's something that obviously is an issue facing Congress every day, because you have kind of conflicting priorities on what you fund and what you do not fund. You're pushing the Kids First Act. This is basically you want to fund research for pediatric disorders, and how you want to do that is you want to pay for it by eliminating funds for political conventions. At a time when Americans want to see private money kind of taken out of the political process, why is that a good way? Why is that the good route to go, even though obviously funding research for pediatric disorders is an admirable cause?
Well, first of all, I think the context in which we're operating here in Washington is tremendous fiscal stress. And it just doesn't seem that the president has put forward his best offer in terms of wanting to come to an agreement with House Republicans who for years now have insisted that we've got to get this debt and deficit managed down. We need to bring it to balance in 10 years. But it also means we've got to set our priorities. Americans, as well as conservatives, as liberals, independents, Republicans, Democrats, I think all of us can agree that research and science has in fact allowed America to lead with innovation. And certainly, if we put our priority on healthcare research, pediatrics in particular, we can help kids. We can help cure disease, which also will lower costs. And I tell you, Kate, I have a constituent. Her name is Katie, and she is 12 years old. She was diagnosed with a brain tumor when she was 1 year old. And she's been struggling back and forth to St. Jude's and other hospitals and is doing quite well, but has a condition as a child, as a 12-year-old, that frankly, a disease which doesn't have a lot of research around it. And so if we can help people and kids like Katie, we can obviously put them and their families at ease. We can cure their disease, put them back on track to a healthy life, but we can also try and deal with some of the health care costs that continue to spiral out of control here in Washington.
Clearly a lot on your plate and a very busy session heading in the race to the July 4th recess. Congressman Eric Cantor, the #2 Republican in the House, thank you so much for your time this morning, sir.
Kate, thank you.
Clearly a very